Hey, everybody. This is Donald Earl Collins coming from Fool's Gold. Confessions from an Educated Fool again. Thank you, my subscribers, paid and free. I'd like more paid subscribers, and I will eventually lock down things so that, or if you do, in fact, pay some, hopefully you're getting something out of reading and watching and listening to me over the past year or so about being an educated fool. Now, I realize that I use full in multiple circumstances, mostly to describe mistakes I've made, mostly to describe some of my foibles and some of my, around self righteousness and around being naive about different things. But, as the movie series Now You See Me also goes through, the fool is a template, can be a template for anything, for being a fool, for fooling other people. And sort of my experience with Loyola University, Maryland kind of goes through sort of both phases, both me as being seen as a fool by my colleagues and really, quite frankly, by a bunch of my students, and at the same time, using that to basically be able to do what I want to do anyway, even in the 2 years that I've been there. So there's that. Just a couple of things. One is about really understanding the nature of teaching a course like History 100, Encountering the Past. And what I want to say about that's pretty simple. It really sucks. It might come through in the essay that I don't think very highly of this course, but I just want to make certain for those of you who know me, as well as those of you who don't know me well, but you've read my stuff. I don't take it lightly when I say that a course really sucks, right? There are a lot of classes where there are parts of I prefer not to teach. I prefer not to talk about those kinds of things. There are also classes I'm always excited to teach, no matter how often I teach them. U.S. history and African American history from 1865 to the present. Teaching the course I designed called American Migration and Song. Teaching about the differences between institutional and structural and all other forms of racism and intersectionality and how that relates to critical race theory, teaching about black migration, lots of things I like talking about. But trying to teach first year college students about the boring pieces of what makes it the history profession as it's understood these days, the modern version of being a historian. Um, historian is, well, it's quite freaking boring. Who really wants to learn about multivariate analysis? Who wants to learn about why historians have problems with oral history even today, even though it's very much a part of the profession, it's become an accepted part of the profession over the last, say, 40 or 45 years? Why do what is historiography? Why do we periodize things that don't necessarily fit within the time frame that we say they fit in, right? Why do we give a beginning and end to things that don't have a beginning and end, since, like a pandemic, for example, those kinds of things, right? I would rather eat a wall full of lead paint than teach this course again. All right. So make sure knowing certain terms. So that's how I felt about the courses going in. That actually felt worse about these courses as time went on, because I could tell that my students were struggling with these ideas. They were struggling with the readings, and so I revamped the course for my purposes, to be more about the ways in which non-historians have discussed the history of black migration, and then get in bits and pieces of this thing we call being a historian in the process of doing so. Still boring as all F, right, to be quite honest, but not quite so boring as just going through the nuts and bolts of what historians do. So, with a dash of, I don't like the profession either. I would rather be doing a lot of other things as a professor and as a teacher and as an educator, as a writer, etc., than going through with you the very things that I can't stand about being a historian twice a week for a whole semester. Making sure that they understood that. And so some of my students understood that, and I'm glad that they did. But and in point of fact, one of the most pain in the ass students I've ever had in 30 years of teaching actually asked me this question at the end of class this past semester, which is, do you regret getting a PhD in history? Do you regret even going down this path to become a historian? I said, no. I regret having a PhD in history. I wish I had a PhD in African American history or American studies or something like that, or African American studies, or ethnic studies, or cultural anthropology, or social psychology, journalism, almost anything else other than what I'm doing, right? So I did say that. But I also said I don't regret getting my master's degree with history as my major. I don't regret getting my master's degree in the following year. I just wish I had taken time off, smelled the roses, done other things, maybe gone to a PhD in something else, maybe not, certainly write, all those kinds of things. So made sure of that. But despite that, despite occasional peaks of interest, the one thing I also realized about this particular student body over the 2 years of teaching them is that not exactly the most progressive place, right? At a time where you've got hundreds of universities around the world, dozens of them in the United States alone, where students have set up encampments, done sit-ins, done die-ins, done martyr-ins around genocide in Palestine, and wanting to force their universities to divest in their investments in Israel, and and being arm in arm of genocide around those sorts of things, and the police brutality that's resulted in university presidents and security calling in local cops to basically harass protesters and all of that. I've said to people in confidence, both on campus and to people in my own life, including my partner, that this will never happen at Loyola University, Maryland. It will never happen there. If it does, maybe during the summer months, I suppose, but not during the heart of the school year. At the time where all of these things are going on, my last day of teaching this semester was April the 25th. I walked out the door of Maryland Hall, walked out of the second floor door, headed down the steps toward the main quad and off campus for the last time as a professor on this campus. And I walked by a whole group of students aggressively trying to get other students to sign up for student sports clubs. Right? This sports club is great because of this. This sports club is great because of that. That's what I was seeing on campus, while Columbia students are being harassed and arrested and so on and so forth for being anti-Israel according to Fox News, which it may be. They're anti-Israel as a nation state, as a settler colonial imperialist racist nation state. That's what they're against, right? But apparently that's wrong, right? So that's what I'm seeing on campus. Other than the students who slapped Palestinian flag stickers on my office hours sign and the occasional rumbling from one or two other students I've had in my classes, I have heard nothing from students on campus around this. Because quite frankly, they've heard nothing from their professors on campus about this. They've heard nothing from staff other than the one, we wish peace for the world and for everybody email that they got from the president of Loyola University, Maryland, back in like within a week of October 7th. That's all we've heard from, we meaning the collective people that I'm part of as Loyola University, Maryland, from administrators, from the president's office, from, quite frankly, from faculty members. No one's talking about this on campus. So the default at a campus that's half Catholic high school and half and have sports clubs and athletic sports camps is sign up for sports camps, sign up for sports clubs for next year kind of stuff. That's it. That's basically what was going on and what's been going on there at the same time. All this stuff is all hell is broken loose across across American campuses and campuses around the world. So I'm proud that as a Pitt alumnus, that University of Pittsburgh students and faculty are doing what they're doing. I'm glad to see this in bits and pieces at places that I've worked at before, and been a student at before. but not this place. And so it's not surprising that this course, Encountering the Past, would not work well for this group of students given the nature of this campus. But even if this were a course that I was teaching at American University or University of Maryland Global Campus or GW or UDC or Howard University or any other places I've worked at over the years as an adjunct, I don't think it'd go over particularly well there because it's boring as F. That's as simple as I can put it. And being the anti-historian that I am these days, anti in terms of the history profession, the way it runs these days, I'm not surprised at how I feel about it either. So